It's impressive what you can do with a single piece of comic paper. Every different sequence of panels has its own approach, based on years of graphic invention. Today it feels like there's been a renewed sense that really any style can be accepted and cherished. To me, that's what comic books have always been. Each issue has the distinct identity of the creators who made it, where all the roles combine to hopefully make something truly special. However, the trade can also be done by lone yet dedicated cartoonists, such as Daniel Warren Johnson, whose control over each aspect of the process produces pieces that exude an energy distinctly their own. Contemporary comics artists utilize an amalgamation of techniques drawn from art movements, the realm of graphic design, and a rich history of comics to create something truly new and noteworthy. Furthermore, some of the greatest artists work outside the box, pioneering new techniques. With each new project pitched, printed, and published, there's a new opportunity for innovation, and a new opportunity for creators to get compensated fairly, something that is not always a priority in the comics industry. Truly, the comics medium has never been more exciting, so I'd like to take a look at the artists who are trying harder than ever to create mind-bending works for generations to come. Today, artists such as Greg Smallwood are mixing the past and future in their work. Initially, Smallwood attempted a simplified art style, reminiscent of Chris Samnee and Alex Toth, but today, his style has its own textured flair. As you can see, Smallwood really nails a fuzzy, nostalgic look in books like Vampironica, but can switch it up for titles such as The Human Target. Smallwood grew up around comics such as The Rocketeer, Xenozoic Tales, and Cinder and Ash, and has always wanted to be a comics artist. His parents' skill in illustrating meant Smallwood's creative mind could be nurtured. Early on, Smallwood learned to draw increasingly expressive faces for his mother's birthday cards, and began mastering female anatomy because his father told him it was the mark of a good artist. Today, Smallwood works with a bevy of distinctly patterned Photoshop brushes. Some of these emulate physical media, while others provide effects for the ocean or sky that might be hard to do traditionally. Playing with the size and angle of these diverse downloadable brushes gives every single object and line incredible variety, often in just a single panel. Smallwood picked up this method from classic novel covers, which often featured a mishmash of art mediums in the foreground and background. Smallwood has works influenced by Jack Kirby and Jim Steranko, but also drew from places like 101 Dalmatians concept art for aspects like Human Target's coloring. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. Smallwood has borrowed from folks like Darwin Cook, Maurice Noble, a myriad of mid-century illustrators, and many, many more, which Smallwood goes in depth about on his Twitter. All this and more makes Smallwood a jack of all trades, and that includes lettering work. Just a look at each issue of Human Target's logos and opening titles will give you a look into Smallwood's breadth of design influences. Despite all this, Smallwood advocates shortcuts in his line of work, such as tracing physical references or 3D objects. Quote, "I have drawers full of figures, models, airsoft guns, and other various props that I use as reference too. If you're going for photorealism and you're on a deadline, you've got to cut every corner you're able, so stop holding yourself to some impossible standard and break out the camera if you think it will help." Smallwood's reigniting of old styles is both refreshing and impressive, and his works often hide influences and details that could be works of art themselves. Tradd Moore got his start in comics his senior year of college at Savannah Art Institute, when writer Justin Jordan contacted him about his DeviantArt for a comic called Luther Strode. At the start of his career, Moore utilized straighter lines in his work, but as time went on, he began using a brush to ink, creating a loose style that favors curved, often continuous strokes. His bubbly designs may be due to his unorthodox grip. Moore cites the work of Paul Pope and Craig Thomas as inspiration to, quote, "loosen up a little bit and start inking with a brush." Furthermore, Tradd's environments often appear on a grid, so when objects get punched or even shot, it bends inward in a way that really makes the whole scene more potent. In his debut story-turned-trilogy, Moore really learns to nail movement. Quote, "For me, it really comes from trying to be as clear and straightforward with my storytelling as possible. Breaking down singular movements into multiple panels Going into the decompressed, slow-mo type imagery, that highlights what the characters are doing, displays how they're doing it, and reveals how it is affecting their environment. It can give the illusion of fluid motion. It can look like one long shot, so to speak. So when drawn successfully, it makes the characters seem really incredible. I want the fight scenes in The Legacy of Luther Strode to look like a performance, you know? Like you're watching someone dance, or skate, or play a sport. Tradmore's art flows gorgeously with long, exaggerated parts. Flames, light trails, and more are all rendered with beautiful precision. Moore also favors creating repetition, and his breaking of that repetition makes his imagery that much more impactful. He's mentioned a myriad of influences, including Frank Quitely and Barry Windsor Smith, particularly their runs on X-Men. Today, Trad's techniques continue to evolve, as his time on Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise may be his most distinct work yet, possibly even more otherworldly than my personal favorite, Silver Surfer Black. Spanish artist Jorge Jiménez did not learn much from his time at Art Academy. He skipped classes, not wanting to be funneled into one particular style, and after a break, he began creating his own style, abandoning his previous attempts at, quote, practically plagiarizing styles from everywhere. As seen in DC's Visionaires, Jorge's fiery passion led him to professional artists such as Belen Ortega, Adrian Fernandez, Javier Aranda, and Javier Fernandez. With their help, Jiménez began developing his style rapidly. Jiménez and his colleagues have their own studio, including colorist Tomeo Mori and Alejandro Sanchez. It's impossible to stress how much these two colorists' close collaboration contributes to Jiménez's work. Without colorists such as them, Gotham wouldn't achieve the unnerving glow found in James Tynion's run, nor would characters like Green Lantern look nearly as mighty. With their help adding lighting, Jiménez can focus on adding texture to his pages. Every character rendered by Jiménez is passionate, intense, and emotional, in both their actions as well as their posture. Jiménez has cited anime as one of his inspirations, as well as self-improvement and a spirit of competition. But when I think of Jiménez, I think of Superman. One of the earliest comics to ever really completely floor me was his Superman Annual #1, written by Peter Tomasi. With help from the Swamp Thing, Superman is trying to find his place in a universe that's been reset without him. Jiménez is able to tell a heartwarming and compelling story through energetic 2-page spreads, radial paneling, and a creative use of Swamp Thing's powers. On Scott Snyder's Justice League, Jiménez was equally impeccable, revealing his skills in drawing a bevy of iconic characters, with personality-infused renditions of Wonder Woman, The Flash, Martian Manhunter, as well as Sinestro. Jiménez approaches his art with an open mind, looking at many different artists for inspiration. His early work, where he was sometimes credited as Jorge Moreno, includes Earth 2 Society, Smallville Season 11, All Summer in a Day, as well as tie-in comics for Transformers and Jurassic Park. And recently he finished a miniseries about Mark Millar's Nemesis. As perversely fun as it is to see Jiménez draw a joyfully deranged Batman, it's clear he's always adored the character Superman most, and he was commissioned to design Clark Kent's son, John Kent. John's cartoony appearance in Super Sons was an instant hit with readers. By drawing large eyes, Jiménez creates unique and varied expressions, from playful to confident to determined, in a way that could really only be done by him. Hopefully Jiménez's bright and expressive form of storytelling will get to shine on even more varied characters in the future. Today, mixed media comics show great potential. Artists can use 3D models to reference or trace faces from any angle, and commenters can let you know the full history of a character right there at the bottom of the page. Webtoon has created a whole new market for reading comics on your phone. We're in an era where new genres and kinds of media can thrive. Industry hopefuls are now able to get their work out through places like TikTok, Instagram, DeviantArt, and Penciljacked, while self-publishing has become more popular than ever. Artists, though, run the risk of their works being run through an AI beast, then appropriated and assimilated into dark reflections of their style. It's also an era where comic creators are often paid late or incredibly little for older comics, or paid practically nothing for characters they created. With artists that shine so bright, it's important that people remember there are faces behind their favorite panels. Not just faces that contribute to the deep history of comics, but creators and fans whose embrace of styles, old and new, has led to the beautiful comic art explosion we see today. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it, consider supporting my Patreon. I just graduated from college, so hopefully I'll be posting here more as well as on my Instagram.